You could start whenever you want, whenever you remember that anecdote.
What was the anecdote?
Well, I actually remembered the start of it.
Is it a fucking joke?
Well, no.
I don't remember the punchline, but this real-life thing that happened to me, I don't remember how it ended.
Just ask about sleep schedules again.
Hey, buddy, I've been really... hold on, let me start over. That was a cut. So,
cutting this.
So, I've been, I've had an inverted sleep schedule for a while, and I've noticed that you have also had a bit of an inverted sleep schedule.
Yes. I don't remember if I've mentioned it on the show yet, but the apartment complex I live in, they're doing construction on the roof. Mm-hmm. I think I might have mentioned it offhandedly in one of them, but they've now moved to directly above my bedroom.
Yes.
So every day at 7 a.m., we just start with...
Just some pounding away at the bedroom.
For 6 hours.
Why does it end at 3?
I don't know.
Hold on. Why does that end at 1? We'll cut that
I
in.
didn't do the math.
6 hours. Yeah.
Whatever.
1 o'clock. Yeah.
Point is, it just goes... Wait, for 6 hours.
They're working from 7 to 1? Like, do they do other things? Do they go home at 1?
I don't know. But they're just slamming on the roof. Well, so that's when my schedule is all fucked up because I just... I have an alarm clock now, even though, it's a pandemic and I don't need to fucking wake up ever. But
just sleep for the rest of your life.
What's even crazier, and it's going to be hard to explain this without a visual medium, but essentially we're on the second floor of our apartment complex. There's someone directly across from us, but there's an overhang that goes over both of our door and the people across from us, right?
So there's like a bridge between the two?
Yes, yeah. Well, there's a wooden beam that goes across above the doors that it's like a support beam. Well, apparently they needed to replace that support beam. And the way they did that is while they were doing it, they just, without telling us, punched a fucking hole in our wall. So we just heard this huge thunk and the sound of, drywall crumbling. Mm-hmm. And my girlfriend's a teacher and she's teaching from home. So she was, working and she kind of looks at me like, what the fuck was that? So I get up and I walk out and I just see a hole in the wall. And then I just see some dude look through the hole. I'm like, what is happening? So I had to open the door and saw just the whole construction crew basically sitting there looking at the hole in the wall. And I was like, can I help you? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. We punched a hole in the wall. And I was like, yeah, look at that. And so basically I had to call the leasing office to be like, did they just eat my security deposit? Because I swear to God, if I lose the security deposit because these fucking idiots punched a hole in my wall, I'm going to be pissed. Long story short, I still have the security deposit.
Yeah, I
would imagine so.
Yeah, but I gotta make sure.
Yeah.
But then the end of the story is they came in and they plastered over the wall. Mm-hmm. But now there's just this big white splotch on the wall. So I had to call the leasing office again to be like, are they going to paint over this? Or do I just have a white ass huge blotch on my wall?
How big was the hole?
The hole, if you put your hands together and made a circle, that was probably the size of the hole.
Oh, okay. So it was the weird thing about that is it feels like, what if one of you was naked on the other end of that? that it literally is my first thought.
I am frequently naked.
Yeah. You're naked under your clothes almost all the time.
How'd you know that?
Yeah.
Who told you?
You probably shower naked, you slut.
No, I wear socks in the shower, please.
Well, all right. That's how you do it. But I'm just thinking okay, so how does that work? Had they have seen you naked, it's I don't you can't just fucking knock my door down and walk in and be like, oh, hello, naked person.
Yeah, right.
It also had that have been Meg. Here's the thing: people see your penis. It's
nobody cares if I'm hanging dong.
Yeah.
But
people see Meg's penis.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna be like, what the hell? That's bigger than his.
Please forgive me, Meg.
No, she'd probably agree.
But
if they saw Meg, it's okay, well now we're gonna sue you because that is all kinds of fucked up. But yeah, no, it's a load of shit, and I'm kind of over it, and I don't know why it's taking so long. But past that, hello everybody, and welcome back to cracking open a cryptid.
That was a nice one.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. I'm sorry I kind of ruined it with the grabbing this thing.
And the best part is that's a twist off.
Is it?
Yep. He told us it was a twist off when we bought it, my guy.
So it is.
And there it goes.
You
Hang
can just
on.
look at it and see it was a twist off?
No, he told us.
Well,
Yeah,
okay, you just held it to my face like a wand. I don't know why.
Sometimes they'll say it on the top. I don't know if those ones do.
It said
They
shook top.
do.
Oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There's a little arrow.
Yeah.
I'm Tyler Shively.
I'm Adrian Castro.
And I'm Jeremy Savage Tate.
Welcome back to Cracking Open a Cryptid. This I got another one of those Truly's lemonades from last week. I got the black cherry one. This thing is so good.
Yeah, I can't wait to try it. I got a shock top.
Shock tops are pretty good.
They're not Blue Moons. Which
They're
I'm,
no Blue Moon.
I'm
but they're
very
close.
disappointed that the place that we went to didn't have Blue Moon, but
Yeah, I ran out of alcohol on the way here. Or not
On the way here.
I did not drink and drive. Please drink responsibly and don't drive.
You're like, oh, there's a 6-pack in this car when we started this 10-minute journey.
I realized I didn't have any more alcohol right before I came here. And I had 2 of these Trulies left. And so I got here and I was like, Adrian, we need to go buy booze immediately.
yeah. And the good thing is we have a pizza place right next door that happens to sell alcohol. Only if you buy pizza, though.
Yeah, they made us buy pizza to sell us the alcohol.
Yeah, okay. Are they like, oh, we will deal with drunk people, but we will not deal with a sliceless hand? Like,
Essentially, yeah.
If that is what he told me, I would respect the hell out of that.
yeah.
But yeah, today, we're not talking about beer or pizza or...
Well, we are. Like, that will inevitably come up again at some point in the conversation.
Next episode, it definitely will. I can guarantee you that. Well, because we have to crack open a cold one every episode.
Oh,
That's
I see.
The whole thing.
kind of
Interesting.
our
Is that what we're
shtick.
doing? That's why I've been cracking open cold ones. And
Welcome to the party, bud.
Yeah, no, that's news to me. Oh, crack open. Oh, I see. Yes, that's very funny.
Okay, you got to be real with me. Did you just figure
No.
it out? Okay, thank God.
That being
I
said,
was very upset.
we were like 3 episodes in when someone said the term cracked or
Crack
like
open a cold one.
No, they said like cracked or cryptid. Like, is this a cryptid or is it cracked or something like that? Like it was like we were on fucking Mythbusters and it was like, did this myth really happen? And I was just like, should we have been saying that? Because like I have no points. Like on all the previous episodes, I've not said that at all. Like I don't know if that's like a thing we do. Like, did we just make it up then? And then we never did that again after that. And I was like, okay, so
It was just a turn of phrase, and you were like,
yeah.
"Ooh, dodged a bullet there."
I was like, yeah, it's cracked. That's for sure. I know what this means.
Yeah, of course. I have always said that. I was the first one to say that.
That's definitely a cryptid. Wait, what?
Well, speaking of cryptids, we're actually going to talk about a cryptid today.
We do that.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we talking about? I actually don't know.
Oh, yeah.
What we're
You
talking
don't know
about.
anything about this one because this one was kind of like, I just felt like recording this one, felt like researching this one.
Oh, sweet.
I want to do a rapid fire minor cryptid thing.
And you want us to guess which one's the real cryptid.
God, that would have been way
That
funnier.
sounds so fun.
I am going to do that, actually.
right.
That sounds fantastic. So all of these in this are real cryptids. Real being,
yeah, quote unquote.
Well, I mean, there are real cryptids. Like,
Sure,
it is
you're
a
right.
cryptid that,
may or may not exist.
yeah.
And very late at night, Jeremy reminded me, I believe, at one point that I don't think I've ever explained the definition of cryptid on the show. So I feel like people have been watching these and just like, yeah, that's a word.
I feel like people know what a cryptid is.
Some people don't. I have a friend who I told him the premise of the show, and he's like, "Oh, so am I a cryptid?" I'm like,
Yes.
Well, hold on. Well, yeah, but you were talking to Bigfoot at the time, which
"Sure."
Well, what's really funny is in one of the video games I play, in the guild we're in, one of the guys who we do a lot of raids and stuff with, his username is Bigfoot. So now whenever I talk to him, I just get mad because of the Bigfoot episode.
Dude, that episode was so fucking like.
No, he actually is a
was-
sweet boy. He lives out here. We've Meg and I have had lunch with him before.
Oh, sweet. No, I was just so mad that there was like everything was fucking.
Oh, dude.
Well,
Now,
yeah, like I don't understand why people
I had-
believe in Bigfoot.
Yeah, I had this thought recently where I was just like, vampires are like a cryptid itself.
yes.
Yes.
But most of all of our lore comes from the book Dracula.
Yes.
Yeah, there are some there's some historical context to why that would why people would think certain ways. But it's kind of like most like with Bigfoot, most of the stuff we thought about it was like, oh yeah, that's like how I saw it in the movie. But then you go back and say, oh, how do you actually kill a vampire? It's like it's a totally different thing.
It's the idea of the difference between lore, mythology, and cryptozoology.
Sure.
Where like cryptozoology is when those big burly dudes are trying to track Bigfoot and they're like, he likes these foods and we're going to set up a camera in front of the food. And it's like, that's cryptozoology because Bigfoot apparently likes that food, I guess, according to these guys.
Yeah, that's every time I see that, I'm like, but how do you know that?
Yes,
dude, I used to watch those shows all the time. And whenever they would do the Bigfoot mating call.
Yes, that was my favorite part.
That was my favorite thing ever.
I cannot replicate it. I'm so sorry. I would have tried.
They're like, we know nothing about Bigfoot, but we've only heard him fucking in the distance, and we are gonna get him by.
But yeah, so
the singular Bigfoot, we have heard him fucking somehow.
They don't procreate, but he does get it.
Yeah.
So a cryptid is just kind of a blanket term for any creature that is reported to exist, but never proven to exist. This ranges from what most people think a cryptid has to be an animal. It doesn't. It can range from animals to humanoids to extraterrestrials. So like the gray aliens, that's a cryptid. Bigfoot is a cryptid. Like you said, vampires are a cryptid. It's just a blanket statement for anything that might exist, but nobody's proved it. So,
well, I feel like you gave it a little bit more than cryptid is just anything that you like. It's like a modern day legend.
Yes,
like it would probably be
an
the
urban
easiest.
legend.
There's this concept that the mythology of America is conspiracy theories and cryptids. And
none of that Jesus stuff, I guess.
Well, that's the Middle East, with a lot of other things.
None of that Mormon stuff, I guess.
Sure, yeah, sure, he's right there. But normally, cryptids are derived from something in folklore mythology of a given area. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about minor cryptids, which are ones that are more focused in an area. So, Bigfoot is just in North America. That's a lot of places to find Bigfoot.
Sure.
So all of these are from very specific locations around the world.
Like one town in one state?
Kind of like the Mothman?
Yeah, so Mothman is from West Virginia. I have another West Virginian one in here. West Virginia has a lot of cryptids, by the way, which is really interesting to me because who gives a shit about West Virginia other than John Denver?
Well, here's the thing, though. First of all, I don't know if it's true, but apparently he is talking about Western Virginia, not
the state of West Virginia.
Yeah,
Shit.
Because the
landmarks are
the landmarks
Virginia.
are
like the Shenandoah River and okay.
Oh man,
I actually want to look that up now because
that kind of fucked up my mind right now.
Because that kind of hurts a little.
But you got to think that at some point when there was only one Virginia before they had that big dispute.
Well, do you know what happened? Like why West Virginia's a state?
The Civil War happened. They split each other. They split over.
Well, there was that, but essentially the people in this area were just like, "Hey, I don't agree with the laws of the four surrounding states. So what if we just made our own state?" And they're like, "Well, where would we get the land?" And they're like, "Just take it from the other states." And then they did.
Huh.
And then the United States government was like, "Guess that's a state."
So we're at fun fact part of the cryptid pod. It's like, hey, you want to talk about anything related to cryptids? Nah, I got a fun fact.
West Virginia is the cryptid of states.
Mm-hmm. I mean, isn't the whole reason they even got accepted was because what wasn't it they sent out a representative to Washington?
Yeah, they essentially sent a representative, and then Washington was just like, well, I guess they have to be a state. They have a representative.
Interesting.
That might be completely false. That's just how I know about it.
Assume anything we said that isn't cryptid related is probably false. That West Virginia thing, more than like what I said, probably also false.
And assume that everything we say about cryptids is also false.
Yeah. You don't come to this podcast to learn. That's just a fact.
Oh, no, God.
You come to this podcast to wonder how three people are spending their lives. And you go, God, what's the shit living that is?
So the first one I want to talk about is, and I'm going to butcher this name. I'm going to say the name a lot, and I'm going to butcher it every time.
Kevin.
Is it in Spanish? I could say it for you.
No, it's African. It's the Mokele Mbembe.
I would believe that to be... most African names, I think, are actually phonetic, so...
Sick. It's spelled Mokele Mbembe, the Mokele Mbembe.
You did just spell it out, but after like the fourth letter, I was just
like the eighth M, you were like,
hold on, I had the word in my head, and now it's just you're just like A, B, C, D, and I'm like, okay, I forgot what letter I was just sitting at.
So the Mokele Mbembe tracks back to 1909 when a local and apparently fairly famous at the time big game hunter.
Is this in West Virginia?
No, this is not the West Virginia. This is in Africa.
Oh.
I have the West Virginia one coming.
I also got super confused because we were talking so much about West Virginia.
Yeah, I probably should have transitioned in there.
Yeah, because
segues, who needs them?
I honestly did not even question it. They're like, yeah, there's this African cryptid in West Virginia. I was like, yeah, that's
yeah, of course, that's where it would be.
Out of curiosity, what language is
It was from a native language from an area of Rhodesia, which is now modern day Zimbabwe.
Okay.
But it does, the Mokele Mbembe does show up in a few other places around Africa, but that's where it started. Mm-hmm. So back in 1909, big game hunter Carl Hagenbeck released an autobiography called Beasts and Men, where among reports of real creatures that he actually saw, because he was a famous big game hunter. Mm-hmm. So when he said, yo, rhinos exist, then people were like, shit, I guess rhinos exist. But he did mention that the natives of the area told him of an enormous apatosaurus-like creature in Rhodesia, which I said earlier is modern-day Zimbabwe.
What's the apatosaurus?
Think of it like a brontosaurus.
Okay.
A brontosaurus is a type of apatosaurus,
okay.
I believe. So he never saw this creature. He never saw the Mokele Mbembe. But he was told by two separate, unrelated tribes in the area that it did exist and looked like, quote, half elephant, half dragon. Now, that's the first description of Mokele Mbembe. Every other description, you're like, wait, didn't they say it was half dragon? Or wait, didn't they say it was half elephant? And then you're just like, I don't know what this thing is anymore.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because as soon as you said that, I was like, oh, what animal would someone trying to describe to me go half? Like, what does an African dragon look like?
Komodo dragon?
Like, is that what they meant? Because like in my head, I was like, it's like an elephant with like wings, you know?
Oh, like a European dragon.
Yeah, but I imagine they wouldn't have been like, oh, you guys have dragons.
Oh, that's true.
So like, what would Africa like call a dragon? Is it?
Oh yeah. I actually don't. There is a lot of that would be a good episode just talking about dragons. Because there's dragons, very different dragons from all over the world in different cultures. I don't know what an African dragon would look like. That did not even occur to me.
I mean, it's like if we're going off the Komodo dragon, wouldn't that a dragon that looks like that mixed with an elephant? Wouldn't that be like a hippo?
Well, yeah, a terrestrial dragon, I believe, is a wyvern.
Oh. I thought it was pronounced wyvern.
I believe it's both. I say wyvern.
I've heard wyvern, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, wyvern is just a dragon that its wings are like a bat.
Okay, so which one's a worm and which one's a wyvern?
A worm has no legs. It's like think of it like a worm.
Okay.
So
that's like a Chinese dragon. Or well, no, they have hands.
Well, like a Quetzalcoatl.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Usually a worm is like. It can sometimes they don't even need to be flying. Like they can literally just be like a giant worm.
Oh well, that's WURM, but what's WYRM? I thought that was. Oh, okay.
It can sometimes have wings and it can sometimes just be a big worm.
Oh, okay. Because I do know there's a difference between dragons that have 4 legs and wings and dragons whose front legs are their wings.
Yeah, so that's a dragon and then a
versus
wyvern.
A wyvern. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, quick aside, I looked up African dragon. This was the first picture that popped up.
That is the most terrifying shit I've ever fucking seen.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
What the hell?
It's a very interesting visual for
it's like
for
an
audio-based.
Yeah.
Just Google African dragons. That's insane.
That's probably what you.
Well, okay, that's the Mokele Mbembe that you just found an image of.
Could I see what?
Sure.
So I believe the more interesting thing about it is the half elephant bit, because when you think of a brontosaurus and a apatosaurus, they're the ones with the giant dinosaurs with the really long necks. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine if they're talking about half elephant, they're confusing the trunk with the neck.
Okay.
What was my assumption? The half dragon thing didn't even appear in my brain other than it's a reptile. Mm-hmm. But that is such a good question. I'm kind of mad I didn't look it up. So Carl Hagenbeck immediately wondered if this was a leftover brontosaurus in a Loch Ness Monster type sense. Mm-hmm. He wasn't thinking of the Loch Ness Monster. I believe that hadn't even been
right. But I get the idea.
It's just a dinosaur that was left over. So Hagenbeck and his associates all had this on their mind while they were in Rhodesia. And they notice in this particular area at Lake Benguelu, I think is how you say it, they noticed that there was a distinct lack of hippos, even though hippos were all over the place. And hippos, if you don't know, are an apex predator. Those are dangerous, adorable creatures. So if there's a predator that is in the area everywhere, but is not in one particular area, the first assumption for a big game hunter would be, well, there must be a bigger fish kind of thing.
Okay.
There's a predator to the predator. There's a new apex. So they started asking around, trying to figure it out. And the natives of the area claimed that the biggest predator in the area that was scaring away the hippos was the Mokele Mbembe, which they considered to be a, quote, unreliable testimony.
Well, yes, thank you.
So fast forward to 1959, where a different guy who is a German captain named Ludwig Freiherr von Stein zu Lasnitz recounted his run from back in 1913 when he was surveying German colonies in the region. And he wrote back to Germany, quote, of what he was hearing in the area is, quote, the animal is said to be of a brownish gray color with smooth skin. Its size is approximately that of an elephant, at least that of a hippopotamus. It is said to have a very long and very flexible neck and only one tooth, but a very large one. Some say it is a horn. I know what you're thinking. Hold your thought. A few spoke about a long, muscular tail like that of an alligator. Canoes coming near it are said to be doomed. The animal is said to attack the vessels at once and kill the crews, but without eating the bodies. The creature is said to live in the caves that have been washed out by the rivers in the clay of its shores at sharp bends. It is said to climb the very shores, even at daytime, in search of food. Its diet is said to be entirely vegetable. This feature disagrees with the possible explanation as a myth. The preferred plant was shown to me. It is kind of liana with large white blossoms, with a milky sap like an apple-like fruits. At the Sosombo River, I was shown a path that's said to have been made by the animal in order to get at its food. The path was fresh, and there were plants of the described type nearby. But since there were too many tracks of elephants, hippos, and other large mammals, it was impossible to make out a particular spoor with any amount of certainty. So, specifically his description of it, which was an official document sent to 1913 Germany, and I don't know if you know German history, but in 1913, Germany was starting to get pretty serious about its government.
Yes.
So, most people using that description of it and various other accounts think that it's just being misidentified. It's a misidentified hippo or hippo, rhino, or elephant. Specifically, the whole thing about the one tooth, which he even said could potentially just be a horn. When you think of an African animal with one big horn,
I mean, yeah, rhino. I'd imagine.
Rhino.
But the thing is like, I wouldn't look at a rhino and be like, smooth skin. Like, if anything, a rhino is the roughest skin around.
Well, not only that, but the whole thing about it having a long, flexible neck.
Yeah, which would explain the elephant one of just the nose of the trunk being the neck.
Yeah.
But that's what's so weird about the Mokele Mbembe is every description of it is always like missing something or adds something weird. But of course, this was back in the early 1900s, and to this day, people are still saying they see Mokele Mbembe. But with satellite imaging and the wide open areas of Africa, we probably would have seen a Brontosaurus by this point.
Right. Well, so like they say it's just a little bit bigger than, or like maybe around the size of an elephant?
Well, the range that the German guy gave was it is at least the size of a hippo, and at most the size of an elephant, which is significantly smaller than any Apatosaurus.
So the thing that I have to question is, one, in modern research, isn't the Brontosaurus not a real dinosaur anymore?
I don't know.
Because I
do remember hearing about this.
Yeah, so I think what ended up happening is they basically had like two different skeletons on top of each other, and they just tried to assemble it with all the bones, and they were like, oh, there's like, you get extra stuff. But it wasn't actually, like, they realized much later, like, oh, these are like different
We've
bones. Never found another one. Why is that? And they look back and say, oh, okay, it's because they're two different skeletons.
Yeah, but the Brontosaurus, if that is the one, doesn't exist. But but Apatosaurus, I believe, is just a term for a dinosaur with a really long neck.
Interesting. Okay.
So I think they still believe that Apatosaurus still existed, just not the Brontosaur.
Which is interesting that, like, like, assuming the Brontosaurus is the one that let's say, like, whether it was real or not, it was a very big animal when they thought it was. The fact that they're like, it's a Brontosaurus, but then describing it as like basically only about 10 feet tall.
Yeah, it's
like,
a Brontosaurus and looks nothing like one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of the weird thing. All of the imagery of the Mokele Mbembe, though, is just a Brontosaurus in Africa, because I think nobody wants to look at all the descriptions and imagine, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah, it's interesting that it would have one big horn and they'd be like, oh, it's a tooth. Like,
yeah, because wouldn't that be the other direction?
Yeah, so does it have a horn? Does it like headbutt things and like the horn is facing down?
I do like the idea that it's just like a horn on its chin.
Yeah.
It's just like that's just actually a Monster Hunter monster.
Yeah, it's just like they're describing, it's like it has like a horn-like beard, and you're like, okay, that's not a tooth, is it?
But yeah, so the reason why I put the Mokele Mbembe on this is because that's all the information about it. Mm-hmm. It's fairly famous. But
we're done. Like that's.
Oh, this is rapid fire minor cryptids.
Yeah,
baby.
I forgot about it. Yeah.
So the Mokele Mbembe, it's bullshit basically. But so many native tribes in Africa for the last 100 years are like, nah, that shit's real.
Well, it's like a chupacabra where like there's a ton. Well, I mean, not to get ahead of ourselves, because we are going to cover the chupacabra at one point.
Yeah, of course.
But it's basically like something that we all, like Latinos, believe that thing is real, even though there's no real evidence.
But the chupacabra at least has like interesting accounts.
Sure.
The Mokele Mbembe's accounts are like, yo, there was a hippo over here and then it ran away and I looked into the tree line. You know what I saw out there? I saw Mokele Mbembe. It's fucking nuts, right? And then it would be like a native saying that to some European big game hunter or explorer, and they'd be like, uh-huh. Bye.
I love the idea. I just thought of this because I'm hilarious and I'm very quick-witted. I love the idea of there being a big game hunter inside of Africa, and they're like, this motherfucker is shooting our hippos. Hey, you know what? I know you like shooting hippos, but there's actually a place where there's no hippos, but there's an even bigger animal. And he's like, what?
Yeah, I gotta go get that. Yeah. I would not put it past native people to be like, get this guy out of here, man. Fuck this guy.
He's like, hey, you guys by any chance found like any more hippos for me to shoot? And they're like, nah, but we got a big one. It's like it's like an elephant.
Fucking dinosaur with a tooth horn.
Yeah, it's like what does it look like? Oh, well, it's like you've seen an elephant, right? Well, it's basically that, but it's also a hippopotamus and an alligator.
And then it's just this long game of telephone where whenever they trade with other tribes, they're like, hey, if you see this white dude come in, tell him about the Mokele Mbembe, and just fucking, it looks like a dinosaur with a big tooth. And then the next guy's like, yeah, it's like an elephant with a horn. And so it's like a game of telephone where it just keeps changing. That's actually probably a really good theory on why this is a legend.
Okay, do we know what Mokele Mbembe actually means?
I couldn't find any direct translation. Anything I searched was people had a bunch of different, like, oh, it means this, it means that, it means this, it means that.
Are there any like examples of?
I would have to look them up again because I kind of just went, useless.
I would just love for it to be one of those things where it's like
it just translates to fuck white people.
Yeah, or it's just like, oh, look at us. They're like, oh, stupid white man come in. Look, just give him a word.
All right. So Mokele Mbembe actually means one who stops the flow of rivers.
All right, so he's just big. He just sits in a
big dude.
See, I love that because it implies that at some point, like, they could have easily been like, hey, do you know what a dam is? Because we have one of those. And he's like, I'm going to shoot it. That river's going to be fucking flowing, I'll tell you what.
No, just imagining a guy with like an elephant rifle just in front of the Hoover Dam, just...
Oh, that's a big one. But it won't stop the elephant gun.
So moving on from Africa and going to the next best place, West Virginia.
See, why didn't we start here? Because you're setting it up.
Because I didn't think I was going to talk about West Virginia initially, and then I forget what happened when we just started talking about West Virginia. I think I led into it, but fuck, I don't remember the last thing I just said.
You literally were like, I did not think we were going to be talking about West Virginia, but I started the sentence with West Virginia and just didn't know where to go from there.
To be fair, Tyler kind of does that.
I do. I have no forethought in anything I say or do. It just tends to work out for me. And I think that's what white privilege is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So in West Virginia, we're going to the town of Flatwoods, and it's September 12th, 1952.
I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, you know the Flatwoods Monster.
Of course I do.
So at around 7:15 p.m., brothers Edward and Fred May, who were 13 and 12 respectively, with their friend Tommy Heyer, who was 10, reportedly saw a bright object streak across the night sky and crash land in an area that a local farmer by the name of G. Bailey Fisher owned. So the boys ran home to tell their mom, Kathleen, who decided to bring the boys out to check the crash site, which to me doesn't seem like a thing a responsible mother would do.
Well, how are they going to know where it is? It's like, hey, where'd you find it?
Well, there's a bright thing in the sky, and it fucking crashes into some guy we know's land. And she was like, hello, 12, 13, and 10-year-old boys. Would you like to go see the dangerous crash site?
That's fair. Well, to be fair, what if it left? Like, then those kids spend their entire life being like, I missed it.
Well, they don't know it's an alien yet.
Well,
I didn't know it was an alien either.
What year was this?
This is in 1952.
Okay.
Well, especially because 1952, that's right after World War II.
I mean, like,
they know
for a few
nukes
years.
exist. But like, that's the thing. During this era, up until like the 80s, people were terrified of shit in the sky.
Oh, yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's not a big thing now, but...
Yeah. Well, I mean, if someone crashed now, it'd be like, yo, that's fucking dope. I want to put that on my TikTok. But for them, it's like, we're going to die. Like, this is it. So, regardless, Kathleen brings the boys, and not only does she bring her 12 and 13-year-old son with their 10-year-old friend, but she also decides to get two other kids, Neil Noonley and Ronnie Shaver, who are 14 and 10, and then finds a local National Guardsman by the name of Eugene Lemon, who is 17. So she just has this posse of literal children, and is like, let's go see the alien. Like...
Or nuke.
Or nuke, yeah. Or probably bomb.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know what her deal is, but Lemon also decided to bring along his dog just to make sure that if everyone died, it would be ultimately sad.
See, that's where I thought you were going with that. I was like, oh, they brought the dog. I know that for sure.
Oh, yeah. Well, Lemon brought his dog because she invited him. So anyway, Lemon's dog scouted ahead, but quickly returned, barking with his tail tucked. So the dog is scared of something.
Yeah, big fucking thing fell out of the sky.
Yeah. So the group walked roughly 400 meters, or 1/4 of a mile in freedom units, and they went up a hill where they witnessed an enormous ball of pulsating fire, as well as a pungent mist in the area that made their eyes and noses burn, which every article I found discussing this was like, yeah, there was a big ball of fire, and they were like, dang, this mist in the area makes my eyes hurt and my throat hurt. And I'm just like, you ever been around smoke before? Like, are you serious? What do you mean pungent mist? It's smoke.
I see. When you were describing that, I was like, did they just get hit with like white phosphorus or something like that? Like, yeah, that sounds like it'll hurt.
Yeah, right? So anyway, they're standing on this hill, choking to death, looking at a big burning ball. At no point does the mother say, you know, we should leave. But Lemon is shining his flashlight all over the place, all over the wreckage to figure out what's going on. And eventually, the beam landed on what Lemon described as a tall, man-like figure with a round red face surrounded by a pointed hood-like shape. Later, Kathleen described the creature as having small claw-like hands and a head that resembled the Ace of Spades.
So if you've ever played Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask...
I was actually going to bring this up.
I have not.
But there's a creature in Legend of Zelda at the farm that... Oh, he already searched it up.
That's fucking terrifying.
Yes. Oh, yeah, you showed him the picture, the actual picture.
Yeah,
of the
this is the
monster.
actual picture.
Isn't that the scariest shit you've ever seen?
Yeah, because when you were describing it, I was like my first thought was, you know how like... I don't know if they do this for real, but like the KKK have like that one red guy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's just, they just like
ran into a Klansman.
Yeah, he's like, oh, the white supremacy vehicle has been crashed again.
But yeah, no, the Flatwoods Monster, if you look at pictures of it, you're like, oh, that thing is terrifying. So that's a conglomeration of all of the people's testimonies of what it looked like. But a few of them, like Lemon and Kathleen, argue about the fact of whether or not they could see its hands. And that's a weird thing that will come up later. But the creature, after they shined the flashlight on it, reportedly, quote, glided toward the group while hissing. So it started gliding toward them going, And the group decided to scream and run away, which I think is the only reasonable action they've taken thus far.
You punch it.
You know what? You got me there.
Because here's the thing, and I've been thinking this a while. The killer isn't expecting to just get fucking clock it in the face. Like, they're always like, oh, I'm gonna get this guy.
So let me show you how big this thing is, though, because somebody did like an artist rendition of what it would be like.
I think I know what image you're talking about.
That's how big it is.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like twice the size.
Punch it in the crotch.
Yeah. Past that, the Flatwoods Monster did a sick ollie on his skateboard while hissing at the group and gliding toward them like a real fucking G. And the group screamed and ran away. But after the event, they went back to town and they talked to the local sheriff, who him and the local deputy went to investigate. And their testimony says in the crash site there was no wreckage, but they did find they quote, saw, heard, and smelled nothing.
Okay, so I have a few questions, and honestly, they're not good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I never expect them to be.
So they go somewhere, and they're like, we didn't see anything, but they specified what they didn't see.
Well, because I believe the group gave the testimony of, we saw the wreckage, we heard the creature hiss, and we smelled the weird punch and miss.
That makes
And so
sense.
they said, we saw, heard, and smelled nothing.
Yeah.
Which is a lie, by the way, because immediately afterward they say, but we did see skid marks in the area, and we did find a, quote, odd gummy deposit, which makes me think that Sora crash-landed the gummy ship on his way to the fucking, Nightmare Before Christmas world, and was like, shit, this isn't Christmas, this is West Virginia, and flew away after Goofy hissed at some children.
I like how, West Virginia doesn't celebrate Christmas.
Well, no, West Virginia just isn't Christmas.
Yeah.
It's not the town of Christmas.
So
it's the town of Flatwoods.
It's weird to me they would also describe that, because they said what? They didn't see, smell, or hear anything. So, there's the option that they could have smelled something and they could have touched something. Like, they were like, oh, well, what is this? I can't see it, but it feels fucking weird.
Yeah, no, it's a ridiculous testimony. But they did say that they saw skid marks in the area as if something crashed or fell, and then an odd gummy deposit, which the odd gummy deposit, if you're not just balls deep in alien lore like I am, you're like, okay, who cares? But there are a lot of ufologists, which again, I hate the term, but they do talk about that when an alien ship lands in an area, it leaves behind an odd, gooey substance, because that's the runoff of how they fuel the ships, basically. That's the byproduct of fueling starships. So if they found this odd gummy deposit, a lot of UFO enthusiasts will say, well, shit, then it had to have been an alien, because that's what happens when there's an alien.
But, I mean, we talked about aliens before, and I did not hear a description of, the Queen from Alice in Wonderland as one of the aliens.
I did actually rack my brain trying to figure out who the fuck would the Flatwoods Monster belong to, and I have no goddamn idea. And so I just decided to say, I guess he's an Anunnaki, with absolutely no reasoning for it. But that's the case of the Flatwoods Monster. It's never shown up since. It was just this one particular case, and then they put it in Fallout 76, but nobody played the game.
Oh, so you can see it?
Yeah, actually, that's why I'm mad that Fallout 76 was bad, because there's so many cryptids in Fallout 76 because West Virginia has so many.
Oh.
Like the Jersey Devil's there, even though that's not in West Virginia, but whatever. Mothman's there, Flatwood Monster's there. There's a bunch of them. It's really cool. But to this day, people discuss, he doesn't look like how they show it in the testimony, but that is the Flatwoods Monster.
That definitely looks like a very 50s rendition of...
Exactly. Because it's Fallout.
Yeah.
So many explanations for this from people who are trying to figure out what it was and not an alien. They claimed that the crash was the ground zero of a small meteor that landed in the area, which is why there were skid marks and stuff, but no presence of anything.
So here's the thing. You say, was there not a big crater in the ground? Is what you're describing as the skid marks, would that have also been the...
I could not find an image of the crash site. But that did bother me as well. Because what do you mean? You found skid marks?
Did he just peel out as he left?
Exactly, right? What do you mean skid marks? But people do believe that the creature was nothing more than a frightened barn owl, because the shape of the head, the small claw-like hands, and the hissing are all things that the local owls have shared attributes with.
Was this like a 12-foot tall local barn owl?
Have you ever seen like wild owls? Because they're fucking big.
Like 12 feet tall big?
Not 12 feet tall,
like
but...
I crashed my car into them? Like, damn.
And your car's totaled?
Yeah.
No, but they are quite large.
I mean, to be fair, like if something...
3 feet?
Well, they also said the thing was gliding, which would be, it was just flying. And you have to remember that 90% of the testimonies were from literal children.
Right. Oh, and they would have been quite small.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but like to be fair, like if anything that's like maybe even 5 feet is just flying towards you,
you're gonna be like, that was the biggest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I have never had. I just tried to Google what a fucking owl, how big it was, and I misspelled every single word. Like literally, I was like,
and autocorrect is like, I can't help you, man.
Okay, I said owl, largest size, and it was like, wow, lag. Yes.
So that's the discussion about the Flatwoods Monster. Much like the Mokele and Bembe, there's not a whole lot of information, but because of this one, it's just because that's the only real sighting of the Flatwoods Monster. It doesn't really come up again. Mm-hmm. The final one I want to talk about for this episode is a local cryptid to us.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of the Dark Watchers of California?
Yes.
No.
I don't know much about it.
I'm actually surprised you heard about this. So, imagine with me.
Mm-hmm.
You're on a long hike. I know. It's already pretty unrealistic for all of us.
I go hiking quite a lot.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that about you. Well, all right. So
imagine I'm in a scenario in which I do what I do.
So, Adrian, fuck off. I'm talking to Jeremy now.
I mean, I can tell him exactly what it is. Have you ever played Super Mario Galaxy 2?
It is in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Wow, I'm surprised you knew that. So, imagine with me. You're on a long hike, traveling through the San Lucia Mountains of California.
I don't know where that is, but I am there.
I wasn't sure if it was San Lucia or San Lucia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, even though I live here. So you started in the morning, but the day is growing late, and it's nearly twilight hours. Currently, you're climbing through a small ravine with rocky ridges on either side of you, looking for a place to set up camp. You see something outside of the corner of your eye. That's been happening a lot today. You're about to just ignore the feeling again until you look upwards. Along the top of the ridge, 3 silhouettes stand looking up towards the sky. Almost as if reacting to you noticing them, they turn their attention to you. You cannot see their eyes, but you know they're watching you. You call out to them, but they do not respond. You climb up the ridge, trying to find out who or what they are, but by the time you reach their position, they've vanished. Night is approaching, time to set up camp. You don't know why, but you're sure they're only here to observe. Now you snap. So the Dark Watchers, that is how every single iteration of a sighting of them goes. They just see them, they're looking at the sky, then occasionally, it kind of 50-50, if they keep looking at the sky or if they look at you, but if you try to approach, they disappear, they don't say anything, they don't react to anything, they're just silhouettes watching you. So
here's the thing, for Dark Watchers, are they, when they disappear, is it because I lose sight of them, they're just not there, or
Correct.
are they just okay?
That's how most of the encounters I've read went.
It's kind of like the Weeping Angels, where like soon as you take your eyes off, they're gone.
Because I believe they tend to position themselves in an area where you would lose sight if you were to climb up to them, kind of thing. So the first sightings of the Dark Watchers is pretty hard to pin down. There was a Native American group known as the Chumash people. And they do have some stories that are very, very similar, but not quite the same. It was mostly seeing people hiding in trees and stuff, which that Native American legend has been seen in a lot of different tribes, but in modern days has been shown as just, you were just seeing things, essentially, because it's very easy to just see things in a forest and your brain tries to make sense of it. It says, that's a person. But usually, the first sighting is attributed to the early Spanish settlers in the region who dubbed them Los Vigilantes Oscuros. How was it? How was I?
You were close.
Yes.
Although it sounded a little bit more like the Resident Evil 4, like when they're trying to talk Spanish.
So garbage. Got it.
The Vigilant of...
I'm pretty sure it almost literally translates to the Dark Watchers.
Yeah, say it again.
Los Vigilantes Oscuros.
Yeah, it literally
is Scoros dark?
Huh?
Is Skoros dark?
I think it's like obscured, basically.
It's obscuro is dark.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I just it's just a thing of I just didn't hear the break in the word, so I was.
Oh, okay. You were trying to separate it because I don't speak Spanish. Understood.
Well, to be fair, it was probably easier because you don't speak Spanish. Had someone have actually been speaking Spanish in here, I would have been like, I understood the C when they said that.
God, if only we knew someone who spoke Spanish in this room.
Yeah,
I know, right? Like, who the fuck?
God, I wouldn't associate with that guy.
So, Los Vigilante Obscuros is the...
Obscuros.
Obscuros.
Yeah, just so you can see it, I feel like that might
Los Vigilantes Oscuros.
See, I thought it was like S and then Skuros. So I was a little confused there.
Yeah, okay.
There's B that should be there, but whatever.
You know, I thought that too, but a lot of the things I was reading, I copy-pasted that.
Oh,
a lot of them didn't have the B, which I thought was really weird. Maybe there's a B in Mexican Spanish, but not Spain Spanish?
Maybe.
Because, language.
Why don't they call it Mexicanus?
Oh my God, I love that so much more.
I mean, why don't they call it English Americanish?
Well,
yeah,
couldn't we call it American?
Well, we would call it Americish.
Americish. Statish.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, that way Canada could have their own.
Canadish.
Yeah.
So, the early Spanish settlers in the region had the exact same accounts when they were in the area, and that's what they named them. It's basically just Spanish for Dark Watchers. But the first time that the name in English popped up was in John Steinbeck's Flight, which was a collection of short stories known as The Long Valley, where he basically just wrote a story that is almost exactly what I read you earlier. Every account is exactly the same. Reports of the Dark Watchers all agree. Everyone who's ever encountered them said that they don't know why, but they know that the creatures, or whatever it is, are not aggressive. Nobody's ever been attacked by a Dark Watcher. Nobody's ever been hurt in any way by a Dark Watcher. All they do is stand there and watch. That's all they care about. They just want to observe, which to me is almost creepier. Mm-hmm. Why are you just looking at me? Do you need something? I have Slim Jims.
Here's a weird thing. Why are they always looking at the sky, but then I'm like, oh, they're looking at me? Wouldn't they just go back to looking at the sky?
Well, they tend to start when you first see them looking at the sky, but it's only ever when people notice they're there that they turn their gaze from straight up to wherever you are, and they just watch you until you don't see them anymore.
Okay, because to me, that it's like, you know, like when you were like, well, I guess this applies to anything. Let's say you find someone very attractive and you're looking at them, you're like, oh, that's
done.
Cool. Yeah, that's it. Are they in here?
Sure are.
And you're looking at them, and then they look at you, and you immediately like, I have 0.1 milliseconds to make up a reason why. So you're just like, oh, I'm looking up in the sky somewhere. Oh yeah, there's a nail right there. That's what I imagine. It's like they're just staring at this guy and walking through the woods, and then he looks up at them like, whoa, what's going on up there? Okay, no, we're looking at you. Oh, okay, yeah. Now we're looking at you.
Yeah, they're all just really horny. And they just want to see people walking around because they're like, oh, yeah, look at that hiker. Yeah, you sweat down there. I like to think that the Dark Watchers are really horny.
I like how you were like, I like to think that they're very horny, and then you explained exactly what you just said and then went back with, imagine if they were
really horny. Every Dark Watcher is rock hard at all times.
Like, if you touch them...
It's solid.
Yeah. Your hands do not go through...
So the thing about the Dark Watchers, other than their just nymphomania, is that
I want to point out, if that somehow ends up as a fact about it's like, you don't know why, but they're horny.
There's gonna be some show 5 years from now. We're trying to find the Dark Watchers of the San Lucia Mountains of California. All right, how are we gonna catch this guy? Well, I brought my blow up doll.
We're gonna put a signal in the sky to get their attention.
Yeah, and we're gonna fly a plane with big titty goth GF on it, and they're gonna fly over, and all Dark Watchers are gonna really distract, and we're gonna grab them.
I love the fact that when you still said GF, and it implies that it's just skywriting. Like there's no photo there. You're just like, yes, they're like, I would like that.
So one of the other creepy things about the Dark Watchers is the fact that whereas the Mokele and Bembe is, it's just they made it up to get rid of a white guy, or like it's an elephant or a rhino, or even the Flatwoods Monster, it's a big fucking owl. There's no real explanation for the Dark Watchers.
How many accounts are there actually?
I didn't count, but
there's a lot.
There's plenty.
2.
Because it goes back to the early Spanish settlers to today.
Like today, so there was a new entry?
Well, I mean, just modern day.
I see.
People are still seeing them. Just hikers go in the San Lucia Mountains and they say, yeah, I saw the Dark Watchers. It's just a thing that you see, which could, of course, be a self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, I know about these cryptids that are here, so then I'm going to say that I saw them.
Next thing you know, Jeremy's going to come and talking about how he was hiking and being observed by
I'll go check it out. How long's the hike?
It's just in this mountain range.
So I can do like a 2-miler and run into them.
They only show up around twilight.
See, that's the problem. I don't want to hike at night.
Yeah, right. But the only genuine quote unquote explanation for them is that we think they're just hallucinations brought on by exhaustion, isolation, or even when we mentioned in the DLA Pass incident, the Carmen vortices. It could just be.
Was that where the gravity stopped and then?
No, the inner ear infrasound phenomena.
So the thing that I find really interesting is a lot of scary things tend to be based on the idea that humans are like, so they don't get hunted, are designed to see faces and things.
Yes.
It's like, okay, am I looking at a bunch of trees, or is there someone standing in that bunch of trees and looking at me?
Well, and the native people who I said have Dark Watcher stories, we have attributed their stories to that exact phenomena.
Yeah. The weird thing is that you're describing them as not having a face, like
because they're just silhouettes.
I see, but I mean, I guess, there have been, there's times where I'm, driving at night and there's, a trash can. And, you're like, oh, shit, it looks like someone's on the side of the road. But as you drive up to it, you're like, oh, it was just it was just a trash can. It was something else. It wasn't a trash can.
It was the Flatwoods Monster.
Yeah, and then I gotta say.
And I went,
Of all the cryptids we talked about, looking at the Flatwoods Monster and looking at these Dark Watchers, that's kind of fucking spooky. I'm not a huge fan of looking at those. Do not show me those photos that often.
It's a little spooky.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's a little spooky.
But yeah, I find that's really interesting. And that's also a cryptid that we could technically, try to go find.
Yeah. If we ever want to go camp out in the mountains.
Dude, I'm so down.
Yeah, it does kind of.
I am so down to go.
What I would love, because there's 3 of us, we're standing on a ridge looking for it.
And then someone thinks we're Dark Watchers. I should say, I used 3 in my little story that I wrote, but it could be 1, it could be 3. It's just there's a or many Dark Watchers.
Interesting.
But they tend to be dressed differently. The one that you see a lot of is a man. It appears to be a man in a trench coat with a hat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I did see that when I looked up. Although all the photos I looked up implied that they have big glowing eyes.
I believe that's just artist renditions because it's weird to draw something without eyes.
Yeah, because the thing is that, I mean, a big trench coat and a hat was kind of an outfit that even Spanish explorers probably would have had some outfit that matched that kind of silhouette.
Exactly. Yes.
Just for funsies, this is what they look like in Super Mario Galaxy 2.
Yeah, there's a level in Super Mario Galaxy 2 where if you look at the skybox, you can see 3 silhouettes staring at Mario from the distance.
Yeah, it's a shiver-burn galaxy.
Yeah, I don't know why they put the Dark Watchers in Super Mario Galaxy, but they're there.
So, Galaxy is the one where you're on a planet. How do you look at the skybox?
No, you could go in a first-person view.
I
and
see.
Just look, and they don't mention it at all.
At all, they're just in the skybox art, basically.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I want you to know, I was gonna search up actually, where are the San Lucia Mountains? Because I was curious. And I want you to know that on Google reviews, there's 3 reviews for this mountain range, and they're all 5 stars.
It's, as mountain ranges go, quite the banger.
Oh, looks like it's in Northern California.
I'm not going to Northern California. Yeah. That's where all the hippies are.
Right? Actually, it might be in Southern.
I thought that...
It's right on the border.
There are a ton of hippies in Southern California.
The hippies are always where you're not. That's how California works. God damn, I hate other places in California that I'm not currently at.
It's on the coast. It's basically right in between Santa Cruz and San Luis Obispo.
Am I seeing San Francisco at the very top there? Is that what I'm looking at?
That's Santa Cruz at the top.
Oh, I see.
And San Luis Obispo.
Can you show me lower down on the map so I can ground myself? Because I don't really know where those cities are.
San Maria, Santa Barbara.
Okay, Santa Barbara. Okay, there you go.
We're here.
Yeah.
And then it's there. There you go.
Wow, San Francisco is a lot higher up than...
California is fucking huge, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because we're here, that's all the cryptids I had. But if I can find them, I really want to read these reviews about this mountain range.
Dude, let's do it.
And
there's 3 reviews too, so those Dark Watchers are like, we're here quite a lot. You know, there's lots of stuff to do.
I want all 3 of them to have some mention of the Dark Watchers.
I would actually be pretty into that. So it appears that they only left a review. They didn't write anything. But there are people who are asking questions about it. My favorite one is, what state is this in? Right below the map of California. And someone very nice just says, California. I don't understand this one, but someone asked, what happens if it breaks down? To which local guy Joseph David replies, when California burning sinks into the sea, www.kingjamesbible.online.org/revelations88.
I want to believe that's his alt account because he just set himself up for that. He's like, well, I can't bring that up naturally. So, hey, what would happen like theoretically if if something?
Wait, does California come up in Revelations?
I can't know.
Well, Revelations is the book of the Bible that's just talking about the end of the world.
I know that.
But I mean, they can't call it by didn't exist. I'd be
shocked.
Yeah, if they were like, when you go to the San Lucia mountain ranges and you see the Dark Watchers, well, California is gonna burn in hell.
And you're like,
what the fuck?
You're like, where are these places? And it's like, I don't know, but I wrote them down. And then like 1,000 years later, it's like, this is it.
I'm genuinely upset that none of the people who reviewed it left an actual review. Mm-hmm. I want to know what they think.
Well, I mean, we know they generally think that it's good.
Let's go to Revelations 8.
What are you going to word search? Oh, I see. I thought you were just going to word search California into Revelations.
No.
Like, does it come up?
All right, we're going to go to BibleHub.com. Should have done this incorrectly.
Bible Hub. Sorry, I immediately thought Pornhub. Like, it's like a play on Pornhub. Kind of like how Pureflix is like Netflix, but...
We'll go with the translation that I read growing up, the New King James Version. Revelations 8:8. Then the second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood.
Only a third.
Just a third. I don't know how that works. It's water. It will, in essence, continue.
Well, here's the thing, though. It's kind of like, how we've been drinking wine all this time. We're like, it's the blood of Christ. I say we, not me, but like other people have been. And so it's the same thing. But now they're like, hey, we got to give that back.
They were just talking about Napa Valley. It's wine country, dude.
A third of the ocean is Napa Valley?
Yes.
Oh, because it sunk.
Yes.
Interesting.
We figured it out.
I feel like the King James Bible is like the least accurate one. Well, that's how I feel. That's a fact of life.
Yeah.
But
because just by essence of your translating it, the fact that there's hundreds of translations of the Bible just makes me think, okay, so nobody knows what this fucking says, right?
Well, King James also famously put things in. Also, we do know what it said because the language that it was originally written in is still spoken today.
Yeah, but like, why does so many people gotta translate it? And then all the translations are different. If we have the language, give me the direct translation, baby.
I would be shocked if you couldn't find like a direct translation.
There are, but that's what I'm getting at. Mm-hmm. We should have stopped there.
I mean,
why is there the King James version and the New King James version?
Well, it's like the Dante's Inferno. Like I own Dante's Inferno, but it's written in English, but it's like ye old English. Mm-hmm. That's super hard to understand. I imagine that's
it's not even like localized.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, because if I remember also correctly, Dante's Inferno, it was written purposefully in a language that people could read. Mm-hmm. Here's a fun fact. I don't know if you know this. I learned this recently. It's a very fun fact. The Catholic Church, up until very recently, like your parents were probably alive when they made this decision.
My parents are still alive.
Yeah.
I don't know why you used the past tense of they were alive. What'd you do to my parents, Jeremy?
Well, because not as in they had died yet, but they weren't born yet would have been why it was a past tense. They were after they were born.
You said my parents were probably alive when this happened.
Yep.
Just continue.
Nothing I said was incorrect. You're just confused.
I think I'm just an idiot.
So the Catholic Church used to say all their sermons in Latin, and no one fucking knew what was going on. Like literally, you would go to church and they would say everything in Latin, and you would have like people basically being like, when we say this, repeat this back to us. And that was you going to church. You had no fucking clue what was going on. They would entirely be in Latin, and then you'd be like, oh yes, I remember that one. Okay, we're supposed to say that. And then the Pope was like, all right, guys, So we're losing a lot of people, and it might be the fact that no one has a fucking clue what's going on. And so they're like, a new plan as well. You know how the priest faces away from the audience and just talks to God the entire time? Turn him around. He's basically in an amphitheater. Let's
God is everywhere. It doesn't matter where he's facing.
God will hear. God, I imagine God sitting there is like, well, no, he's not facing me.
Yeah, that's why COVID happened, because God got jealous and he wanted attention.
But yeah, so the fact that like the fact that when Dante's Inferno was written, he was like, hey, I'm not going to write it in Latin because the only people that read Latin are basically
like priests.
Yeah, are priests. Yeah. So like the normal person should be able to read this. More people after reading Dante's Inferno, they're like, oh shit, we did not realize that was what was being preached to us. Like we were not able to conceptualize the concept of like how hell would work. And it actually brought up attendance in church because people were like, well, fuck me.
That's actually fascinating.
I have been sinning for a very long time.
So just to end this podcast off, I just wanted to mention, because you mentioned nobody knows Latin. I recently learned that the theme song of Sid Meier's Civilization 6, which I thought was a beautiful song in Latin, is Italian.
Huh. I mean, some people know Latin.